One of my woodturner's friend's neighbor took down two really large American elm trees in his front yard. My friend invited us over to cut up as much as we like and take some, so I came down with my new chainsaw and went to work. Each log was halved, so each half will yield two bowl blanks. This also takes care of the problem of the pith in the center of the wood. Before you comment about me not wearing a face shield and a hard hat and a pair of chaps, I'm already fully aware of all that stuff. This was one quick cut that I made towards the end of the day, and I just threw on my safety glasses and work gloves. I do intend on buying a pair of chaps and a hard hat though. Once I got the wood back home, I sealed up all the end grain with a product called Anchor Seal. That's an end grain sealer that will keep the ends from checking, as well as lock in some of the moisture for a longer period of time, so I have a bit more time to work. Each bowl blank was then taken over to my bandsaw, where a round circle was tacked onto the top using a scratch awl, and then I cut along and followed the edge of the blade along the circle to give me a rounder sized blank to work with on the lathe. For those of you who are curious, this is a 1-inch 3-hook blade intended for a sawmill. However, my 17-inch bandsaw is capable of taking a 1-inch blade, so I like to use this for some really quick cutting. What I really like about using these circles to cut out bowl blanks is that once I'm done cutting, I can flip over the piece of wood, put the circle on the other side, and tack a hole in the center. That way I have my centers marked on both sides and it's ready to go on the lathe. For ornamental bowls, or in other words, not natural edge, I use a 4-point spur drive in the flat side, and I bring up my tailstock and tool rest, and we're ready to turn. I use my 1/2-inch Ellsworth bowl gouge to start roughing this in. For bowl roughing, especially with green wood, I use almost nothing but pull cuts because they remove wood quickly. I have been playing around with some left-handed push cuts though, and those work pretty fast as well. After installing my 350 grit CBN wheel just recently, my tools hardly ever go dull, but there is still the occasional sharpen. I use my 1/2-inch skew to shape up the tenon. I have dovetail jaws, so I want to make sure that the angle is pointing inwards. And I also want to make sure there's a flat spot on the foot of the bowl for the face of the jaw. This is one of my newer tools. It's a shear scraping tool. It's like a skew, but there's only one side to the bevel. So what you do essentially is hold it 45 to the wood and perform a really light scrape, and this will put a nice finishing cut on the wood. So I took my spur drive out and installed my new BD 550 chuck into my lathe from Chucks Plus. I like to alternate each side of the scroll chuck while tightening down the jaws because each one will give you a little bit more bite than the last. There's also quite a large gap between chuck jaws here. That's because I'll frequently retighten the chuck while rough turning the bowl because the green wood compresses, and I want to have enough wiggle room between the chuck jaws to do that. Then it was just a matter of scooping out the inside with a series of cuts. Believe it or not, that little blur on the screen was from water drops flinging off of the green wood and hitting the camera screen. That's just how wet this wood was. Make sure that the total wall thickness of your bowl is even, because the thicker parts of the wall are going to warp a lot slower than the thinner parts, and that way, because they're warping at different speeds, they're going to pull away from each other and cause a crack. So really take a lot of time to make sure that they're perfectly even. I've tried drying bowls in 1,000 different ways before, and I've always had the best luck with just brushing a little bit of anchor seal on the ends and letting it sit on the shelf.
Alright guys, and that's it for the video. I hope you all really enjoyed it. This is only the start of my rough turning spree this time. I don't generally rough turn bowls at a consistent pace. It always goes with the amount of wood that I have, and I'm not constantly taking in green wood. But every once in a while, I'll just go on a streak where I'll be doing nothing but rough turning these bowls for quite a while and building up the stockpile a little more. So the overall result for this week's rough turning was 14 American Elm Bowls. They're all very, very wet and they're going to dry for quite some time. I always get questions about how I dry a bowl. All I do is I put anchor seal on the ends and I let them sit on the shelf for about 6 months to a year. And I still have quite a lot of wood left to rough turn, so I'm going to be at this for a long while more. But for right now, this is where I'm going to end the video. And I'd like to announce another quick couple of things. Number one, I have a website now. I mentioned this a couple videos ago, but I since then upgraded it to a professional plan. So the link to my website is now www.peterturnswood.com. So I'll put that in the description, and I encourage you all to go check it out. Another thing is, if you don't know already, I have a vlog and follow-up channel now. It is Peter Matthew 2. I'll also put a link to that in the description below. On that channel, I post follow-ups to the week's projects where I answer questions, open up stickers that come in the mail, and just do some general shop talk. So if you're into that kind of thing, I'll put a link in the description and you can go check it out and subscribe. Speaking of subscribing, my channel's about to hit a big milestone. I'm currently just over 950 subscribers. I'm about to hit 1,000. So if you can please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it. That would support me, and that way you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. And I'm also thinking about doing a tool giveaway for 1,000 subscribers, just for my subscribers only. So if you want to be entered in that, you should probably subscribe now. One very last announcement. I would like to give a shout out to a fellow YouTube woodturner by the name of Larry Martin. Larry's been on YouTube for a little bit now, and he's posting some really great videos on wood turning and that type of thing. And I have subscribed to his channel a little while ago, and I really enjoy watching his videos, and I want you guys to go check him out. There will be a link in the description to Larry's channel. I want you all to go over there, show him some support, and subscribe to his YouTube channel. It's a real shame, and I know this from experience, when you work pretty hard on videos and it takes a long time to build up an audience. So if we can get him an audience right away, to get him some instant gratification, it can mean all the difference between him continuing this channel and stopping because nobody's watching the videos. So go over there and subscribe. Alright, I will see you all the next time I'm making something. Take it easy.